Hello everybody and welcome back to ScreenPlayers Podcast Replay. This time around, Angie, Jazz and I, we tried to kind of come up with our favorite game of all times. Now, don't get me wrong, that's impossible, right? No one has one favorite game, I suppose. But we kind of tried to pick the game that for some reason we played the most, or maybe that is tied to some childhood memories. Anyway, before I leave you to it, I'll be back on Friday. We'll be talking about PlayStation rumors and leaks because they're going crazy at the moment. And as usual, if you like our content, give us a thumbs up or maybe subscribe to the channel. You know what? Don't subscribe. We have enough followers, actually. We don't need any more, you know? No, please subscribe. Grab your favorite drink. I hope you enjoy this one. And remember, we are back this coming Tuesday at 6 p.m. UK on our Twitch channel. Right down below. See you later. What's up, y'all? All good?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I finished Uncharted 1 this week.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it only took me 5 sessions of 2 hours each. I'm sure it would have been a lot less if I hadn't spent like 3 hours on that bloody jet ski.
Okay, not that long though. It took me, the first time I played it took me way longer than that, I think. So this week's about a weird topic, because we're kind of like chatting among ourselves after Thursday, and we're like, oh, well, what should we do? And then we're like, you know what, why don't we come up with our favorite game ever? But then, obviously, Angie pointed out, how can you decide what's your favorite game ever? I mean...
Easily! Coming from the person who came up with the
Unless you're Jazz.
Unless you're Jazz. Which, although he has 500 games in his Steam library, he still manages to choose a one game as the favorite. No, I don't know.
And how many have you got again? 500 and
something? 529 or something, is
Lord,
it?
yeah.
And you picked your favourite game out of all that. Wow. Well done, you.
Thank you very much.
I am like Angie. I cannot pick a definite favorite, but so I think Angie and I we're kind of gonna go for sagas, like one of your favorite sagas, one of the ones that you like the most, not necessarily your absolute favorite, but like one of the sagas that you like the most, and why. Whereas Jazz clearly has a favorite. And he's dying to talk about it, so I've got a feeling that we're going to start exactly with Jazz.
The game that is my absolute favourite game to play, it's only on PC. I've been playing it ever since it was first released, actually. It's basically, like, it is a series, I guess you could say it's a series. The Mountain Blade series, and specifically Mountain Blade Warband. So it as a game, like, it was made by the first one, so there's Mountain Blade.
Yeah.
And Warband. And now there's Bannerlord, which just came out and I think was mentioned on the first ever ScreenPlayers by one of your...
Yeah, Dave picked Mountain Blade Bannerlord.
Yeah, shout it out. Got one guy.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. But originally it was just made by like a husband and wife team in Turkey. And then it's just ended up becoming this sort of like a cult game.
Okay.
The thing that I love is the multiplayer, which is not popular in any way, shape, or form. But Mountain Blade itself, like the single player, has lots and lots and lots of fans, and it's sort of generally well loved.
Right.
Basically, what it is, by the way, it's Mount and Blade, not Mountain Blade, which took my mum about 3 years to figure out what I was saying.
Really?
Yeah. Because you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play Mountain Blade. Sounds a bit like it. Anyway, so basically what it is, I'm specifically talking about Warband, although a lot of the stuff applies for Bannerlord, which is the new one, which I highly recommend people check out for the single player, not for the multiplayer. But basically, it's just a complete sandbox. So it's a medieval game, and you're essentially just dropped in to there's sort of 2 levels of the game. There's the open world map, which is just a map with a little sprite for you and a sprite for the different groups.
Yeah.
And then the scenes, which is like cities and buildings and battles themselves, where you're controlling your character in a sort of third person, although you can do first person, but you'll die.
So you have the option of first person. That I didn't know, for example, in Mountain Blade.
Yeah, but like if you maybe you can play it like that in single player, but you'll just get, if you're in first person, you can only see here, and if you're in third person, you can see all around you, which makes it infinitely easier to fight.
Right.
So, but that is the option. I know there's some people who even in multiplayer do archery in and crossbows in first person, which and some really, really good players do that. I don't do it because I've spent years in third person, and even though it's just a switch perspective, it changes slightly where you aim, and so you're missing the fun. But yeah, the single player is really, really, really popular, and basically Bannerlord at the moment, it's in early access. Bannerlord single player is essentially Mount & Blade Warband with better graphics. They haven't really added much, so if you'd like single player games, check that out. It's essentially a sandbox. To say you get dropped in, you're level 1, you have like barely any stats, you have no good equipment,
right? And
your goal is to get a group of troops together, which you'll like start out with the cheap ones, so like peasants, and as they fight and get kills, they'll level up, and as you fight and get kills, you'll level up, and you're like leveling your abilities and predominantly money to get better equipment so you can survive fights and take on harder enemies, until essentially you're controlling like 100 plus people in your army, or 200, 300. You could join a faction, you could choose not to join a faction, and you could like just go it alone. You can set up your own faction and take over castles and villages and towns,
right?
Or as I say, so you can join a faction and then
as
like
well.
Sorry,
there are siege mechanics as well.
Yeah, and the siege mechanics in Bannerlord, which, as I say, is the new one, are way better than in Warband, because Warband was just one ladder and your whole troops go, and you're like desperately trying to race there before your AI, your bots, because the AI is trash in Warband. It's a 10-year-old game, or at least I think it is. Yeah. And so then you're like stuck on the ladder. But the issue is, if you just charge in, you're not like, even with max stats, unless you like edit it so you have better than max stats, you're not a god. You will die. So you have to like be careful about, I'll send my troops in, but then they're quite bad, so they'll just get absolutely mercilessly slaughtered, and they'll stand on the ladder and stuff. So there is siege mechanics, but in Warband they're a bit trash. But it's just a really good game. You've got cavalry, you can mount and blade, you can go on horseback, you can fight with crossbow, archery, sword, shields, two-handed weapons, polearms, stuff like that. It's that sort of flexibility, I think, is what makes the single player so popular. And I mean, I've spent time on the single player. It's good and it is fun. And also, I think Warband and Mount & Blade is very well known for mods, so it's super easy to mod. And I think they're carrying that through for Bannerlord as well.
Right.
So you have all sorts of like just great full conversions. So like some of the ones, what have I played? I played one where it's like sort of colonial, but like in a different world. So that was really fun. But it was still colonialism, but without guns. So whatever. But that was a really fun one that I played. I can't remember the name. And then there's stuff like Roman Empire full conversions, Samurai full conversions. One of the most popular is Lord of the Rings, obviously full conversion. So you can play like as an elf or a human or whatever and fight against orcs and so on. It's really great. And there's that flexibility, which definitely will be in Bannerlord as well. And modding has really been able to keep the game alive.
That's what I would
with
imagine.
Very little. Tale 2 developers have had very little to do with the game, really, since they released it. They're just like, there you go. Modders will fix everything and make it great, which they have done, and they've kept it alive. And I'm sure probably now there's probably still, if I check the Steam player list, which I'm not going to, but there's still probably loads and loads of people playing it. But the thing that I've played religiously for a very, very, very long time is the multiplayer, which I think is like a hidden gem in terms of multiplayer games. The community, gotta get it out there, toxic as hell.
As many communities out there.
If only there was a mute all button.
Yeah.
If only there was a hide player names, because they're all offensive as well. But it didn't used to be as bad. Sadly, as with any sort of small communities, eventually people leave and then only really the assholes stay, and no one bans them or kicks them because it's a small community. But anyway, the thing that I've played loads is the multiplayer, and what's kept me playing it is what makes Mount & Blade so good which is the combat system. Warband, not Bannerlord. Bannerlord, I hate. Anyway, we won't get into that. But basically, if you've heard of like Mordhau and Chivalry and War of the Roses, like War of the Roses is quite old. Mordhau came out quite recently, but they're all like medieval games.
Yeah.
Essentially, almost all of their combat system, they're trying to emulate what Mount and Blade has been able to capture, because as a medieval combat system that allows people to fight each other, it's just really good.
Right.
I don't know how they've done it, but yeah, they've managed to. It's very simplistic, but very hard to master. So it's essentially you can attack to the left, right, up, down. That's it, and then you can block left, right, up, down. If you have a shield, so long as the shield's facing it, you'll block it. Archers can shoot above and below the shield, etc. And yeah, it sounds very simple, but it's punishingly hard because it's all about skill. Yeah. It's all about reflexes and your ability to track where people are shooting, swinging and so on. And yeah, other games have tried to capture it, but haven't really been able to, I think, keep it as pure as Warband was able to do. Bannerlord also hasn't kept that, but and again, I won't start complaining. Yeah, I haven't played Bannerlord barely. But yeah, Mount and Blade, it's just yeah, it's really good. I got some footage together which I'll send over to Lorenzo. But I mean, if you think about it, the graphics are quite bad because it's old, but it's a game that allows you to control one character, just a swordsman or an archer or a crossbow or a cavalry person in 200-player battles, siege battles, for example. With all the modding and stuff, there's on the most popular siege server at the moment, like there hasn't been 200 players on there for a while since Bannerlord came out, but still. There's a Helm's Deep map, which is really... Oh, Minas Tirith, that's the really popular one. It's from Lord of the Rings. And you got 200 players, 100 players on either side, duking it out to try and take or defend Minas Tirith. Like, it's great. It's really good. But yeah, and what I like about it, as I say, is it's all about sort of skill, and it's kind of quite, with Warband, it's quite easy to pick up, hard to master, because anyone who goes, like if you guys were to go on, you'll die straight away because you haven't played it. But after a while, you'll figure out, oh, okay, if I take a shield, I don't have to worry about defending, so then I can learn how to what attacks get through people's blocks and cause people to, because it's essentially a mind game, because there's only left block, right block, up block, down block, left attack, right attack, etc. So it's all about figuring out, okay, what do I do to make them block that way so I can then attack that way, and what can I make them do to stop blocking so that I can attack, or so that they attack it and mistime their attack and so forth. It's really good. As I say, that's the sort of stuff that then comes into it about like mastering it and so forth. But just picking it up after you've played a few hours, you'll sort of start to feel the flows and the patterns, and then eventually you'll be able to get kills until someone with thousands of hours comes along and just demolishes you, which unfortunately is sort of what happens.
You see,
not to me, but because I'm the person with thousands of hours. But and I think something that I've always loved about it is I've played thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, and yet there are people who just put more effort in than me with way less hours, and they could demolish me no matter what I do. I just can't take them on, and that's sort of something that I like, is, you know, it rewards you for the amount of work you put in. I don't put any effort in anymore. I just play the same way I always play, and I've sort of got worse, but you know, I've still got experience and skill because I used to put loads and loads and loads of time in, so I rarely sort of struggle in fights against the people who were just casually playing it. But then, if someone were to pick it up today, Warband or Bannerlord, I guess, and just put in all the time and effort and so on and learn all the new meta and all that stuff, even though I've been playing it for years, they could just absolutely destroy me. Which, I think it's really great. I really like it. And one thing I would say that sort of doesn't get that much love, but it's really interesting if you know what's going on, is competitive Warband. So that's a whole different side of multiplayer where you actually have tournaments and competitions with teams going up against each other. And
almost in a category of like esports kind of thing.
Yeah, although it's because it's so niche, and also because I think there was a conversation on the forums, which I was purely going on for all the tea. Basically, it's really fun and interesting if you play the game and you know what's going on. But compared to stuff like CSGO, Overwatch, even those stuff, it's a bit hard to tell what's going on if you're a new player because there isn't player cameras and stuff like that.
Dude, for me, it's hard to say to tell what's going on with Call of Duty Warzone.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. With Warband sort of streaming and stuff, it's a bit hard to tell what's going on just because basically I haven't done a competitive match in a few years, but it used to be, you'd have a team strategically set up in areas across the map for different flags, spawn, and then so it just looks like, what are they doing? They're just occasionally shooting at each other with the archers, and then suddenly, bam, everyone gets together and everyone dies, and then that's it, there's a winner. So unless you're like able to go, oh wow, that was a really great play from that person, it can sometimes be a bit hard but it is really, really fun. And as I say, sort of alluded to, I'd played it in a team for a while, not one of those top teams, and it's a very fun game to do competitively with strict rules because it's all just about your skill and also then about mind games and
what you should do,
class combinations and stuff like that to beat the other team. It's great, and as I say, I've played it for thousands of hours over many years, and it will always have a special place in my heart, even if they ruin the franchise with bad law, changing the combat system.
I can tell.
Rant.
Bloody hell, you're passionate about the game. You know what you should do? You should actually stream it. You actually stream yourself playing as you explain the tactics. I think people would go for that.
Well, they don't need me to do that because one of my friends who was the leader of the clan or team that I was in does that already, or used to do it. I don't know. Basically, the Warband is dead at the moment, so no one's doing it anymore. Yeah. But there's all sorts of streams and saved streams on his Twitch channel.
Well, there you go. You can. Your friend is
delicious. There you go.
Your friend is probably fantastic, and you should. By the way, all check him out. But it's not you, so you have your own personality. You can put your own twist.
He's a lot better at explaining this stuff than me. I'll just play it.
Well, there you go. Maybe that's it.
I'm not for 20 minutes, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
You totally explained it.
You explained the shit out of that game. But anyway, I'm actually curious about one thing. So, Angie, what?
Yeah.
So, taking from, well, I don't know if you actually knew this game before.
No, I've not heard of it, to be honest with you.
So, based on what you heard, what do you think? Is this game something that might have actually appealed to you?
Well, I can see that, you really like it, but it just sounds to me like there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of players out there.
That's for the multiplayer. The single player is just do your own thing. And you can always tell the people who've only played single player when they come into multiplayer because they fight specific. But and because in single player you can have stuff like assisted blocks where you just press the right mouse button and the game will block for you. Where that doesn't happen in multiplayer. So and they always backpedal because in single player you run up to the enemy and then they all form a line and you backpedal and just kill them one at a time.
Very nice of them.
Do what I do, just on a horse at a slow trot, and they follow you in a line and you just shoot them in the face. As I say, the AI is crap, but it's a great game. So single player is maybe isn't as competitive and isn't as brutal in that regard.
No, I do struggle with that kind of thing. But
I'm not a person for that kind of games. But all right, so Mount and Blade.
That's why I'm here, team.
Yeah, exactly.
Person who covers
providing the covers for these type of games. I suck at these type of games. I would probably ditch it in 5 minutes, exactly as I do with all the games that I'm not instantly good at.
I think Warzone. It takes a certain type of mentality to play, because when in multiplayer, at least, when you start, you will get absolutely thrashed.
We're actually going for a completely different tone then, because we're going to Angie and she's going to talk about a saga, collection of games that I am very fond of and I could easily pick out myself. So here we go. What do you like?
Right, so basically, I can't remember another game I was that excited for coming out than the first Tomb Raider game. I had a Sega Saturn back then, which everyone's forgotten about.
I haven't.
But
Jazz has no idea.
I got no idea.
What is a Sega Saturn? Yeah.
I've heard of Sega.
It's basically the first 3D console ever.
Okay.
And yeah, they had a 3D fighting game called Virtua Fighter, and it was available
which I
as an
remember.
arcade game.
I remember, that game. I don't know if it was the same for the UK, but back in Italy, that game was obviously right in the advertisement for the console. Like you'd see on TV Virtua Fighter, and you'd be like, wow.
Yeah, you got a free copy of that when you bought a Sega, so it was like Sega Saturn rather. So yeah, that was very exciting. But the Tomb Raider, it was the first sort of adventure-y kind of game, I think, for those kind of consoles.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So it was something I'd never played before, and it was a female character, so that was appealing to me. And I remember putting that on. We had a demo of it from a magazine, and that's what piqued my interest initially. And we played that demo. It was just like one tiny bit of a level over and over and over again, and then we were like, right, we're gonna have to get this game. Yeah. So me and my brother, who was 11 years younger than me, we were very excited. I was 21 at this time, by the way. And this is in 1996, so revealing my age there to you. But yes, it was a very long time.
Clockwork of everyone trying to do the math.
Yeah. What year were you born?
94.
Yeah, so you were barely 2 years old there. Well, I was getting excited for Tomb Raider. So we went out and got it, and there's a bit at the beginning of the game where you get to practice all the maneuvers and so on, and even just the way the character moved was just absolutely amazing to me at that time. I was like, oh my god, she can do forward rolls, she can jump this way. I've never seen anything like it before.
Absolutely. One thing that made me feel so old, when we did an episode about the games that of your childhood, and I picked Tomb Raider 3, and I played through the first level to record some gameplay. Oh my god.
It's hard, isn't it, when you go back? I still have an original copy. Eventually I bought it for the PlayStation as well, for the original PlayStation, and I never got to finish it on the Saturn because there was some kind of glitch. I mean, it was a glitchy machine anyway, and we had all kinds of problems with it. But for some reason, there was this one part in the game on the Saturn I could not get past. Got past it the first time on the PlayStation when I played like that. So it was definitely the console. There was something wrong with it. Or there was something wrong with the actual game. I know it sounds like I'm making that up, and I was just rubbish at the game.
There was nothing with how you were playing the game.
No, nothing to do with that at all.
All the game's fault.
I wasn't rubbish at it, honest. Maybe it was the PlayStation. The Sega Saturn controller was rubbish. There you go. That's pick one of A, B, or C. Pick one of those. That's the reason I couldn't do it. Anyway, PlayStation, I had no issues with it at all. Finally got to complete the game, and I completed that game several times, and it's the first game I've ever done that with. Unfortunately, by the time the second game came out, which I was super excited for, I didn't own a PlayStation at the time, and they said it was not going to be available on the Sega Saturn, but PC and PlayStation only. So I didn't have a PlayStation, so I got it on the PC, and my PC was that bad and that slow that she was like running like jerkily and stuff. So yeah, I didn't get very far in that because it was so frustrating to play.
No, did you actually eventually not do?
No, this is the thing. This is where I kind of put Tomb Raider down, because I didn't play any of those early games. So I didn't actually play Tomb Raider 3, which is the one you said you were a big fan of. And I know a lot of people really like that one. But the next time, I played a little bit of some of the later ones, like The Last Revelation and a couple of them, and I couldn't really get into those ones. The next time I picked was for the PlayStation 2, which is the only Tomb Raider game they did on that console, which was The Angel of Darkness, and I absolutely loved that, even though she didn't actually raid any tombs in this game. It was still called Tomb Raider. I think a lot of people hated it for some reason, but it was the first time you got to play another character in it other than Lara Croft as well, which was kind of cool. So yeah. I forget what the guy's name was, but there's a male character. It was really good though. I've got a lot of love game. I played that one several times. I did find the camera angles on it were a bit weird. They're a bit like that Uncharted I was talking about, where it'll just zoom out and you're like this big on the screen.
Yeah.
And you're like, can't see what you're doing very well. But yeah, they managed to fix that, I think, by the time the next console came out. But from that point onwards, basically, I played every single Tomb Raider game all the way through multiple times. So for that reason, Tomb Raider holds a very special place in my heart because I always I'm actually wearing Lara Croft colours today as well. Which I didn't actually notice.
I just realised now.
I didn't notice until after I put it on. I was like, oh.
I realised after you started talking, I was like, oh damn, I've missed the chance to make a joke about that. I'll just see if I can work on it later. You robbed me of that chance.
Don't need to. I do have a replica Magnum here as well because of Desert Eagle. But I've never dressed up like it, honestly.
Your thumbnail there, Lorenzo.
But yeah, I mean, I did get excited because I finally got a PlayStation 3 and I thought, great, I can play the first Tomb Raider game again. This will be amazing. And I put it on. And like you were saying, it is so hard to maneuver the character because we're so used now to the analog controls and the way they move and stuff. No, she just moves back, forward, left and right, and that's it. And that I remember that being absolutely cutting edge when
that was fantastic. That was fantastic for the time. The graphics were amazing. Looking at it now, as we were commenting on the episode, it didn't age very well because obviously the graphics weren't that advanced.
It's such a shame, but you'd be thinking it is 24 years old, so obviously it's going to look poor to our eyes now. But at the time, it was absolutely stunning, and I loved it. But yeah, I don't think I would go back now. I think I made a point before I bought the PlayStation 4 to replay again all the Xbox 360 ones. So Legend, which is very, very good. Anniversary was meant to be a replaying of the original game, but I don't think it captured that same feeling that I got from playing the original. The nostalgia value was not there. In fact, they made some things a lot worse than it was originally. Wow. I just couldn't get behind some of it at all. There was a whole brilliant level, I don't know if you remember it, if you've ever played the first game, called Folly, where you've got to make your way down from a really tall
I think
room.
I remember, yeah.
You've got to go in. Yeah, you might have. If you played Anniversary, you'll know because it's the same.
No, I did play the Tomb Raider 1 at the time. Tomb Raider 1 was the one that I played the least. I think I finished it once and that was it. Whereas Tomb Raider 2 and 3 I played to the death.
A lot of people really love those ones, and I'm very sad now that I didn't actually play them because I think I would have enjoyed them just the same.
Well, to be fair, Tomb Raider 3, it's probably not as good as the 2. The second one is I picked Tomb Raider 3 because it was the first Tomb Raider I played, and then I went back to the other ones.
Well, that's probably why you didn't enjoy the first one as much because you weren't there from the beginning. You weren't there in the beginning, man. You didn't know.
You didn't see what I saw.
But Tomb Raider 2 was just stellar. It was just amazing. I actually would like to replay it now if I had the time.
Yeah, it's just, I guess, again as well though, is that the game mechanics back then, it was the first time you'd seen these kind of games, and I miss as well the fact that you can't just, I've died, right, I'll just pick up where I left off. No. In the first game, I think it was in the second one as well, you had these things called save game beacons, which you had to find, and they said you can store these and use them when you want, but when you find one, Jesus Christ, you're ready to use it. Because it had been like 25, 30 minutes of finding one. It's like, if I die now, I've got to go back to that wolf thing that took me ages to get past, and oh man. Dark
Souls style kind of thing.
And I didn't dig the save game beacons in retrospect, but at the time that was the first. I never didn't know any different. That's the way games were. It's like when I played that Crash Bandicoot trilogy again recently. That 3 lives thing can F off for me. I'm just that annoying face comes up, you're like, and you get PlayStation thumb like this. No, I'm not going backwards anymore. Games that are forgiving with dying over and over again, they're the ones that I need to play.
My favorite saga, or one of my favorite sagas, Uncharted. I have played them all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and Lost Legacy. The only one I haven't played is the one that came out for the PS Vita, because I don't own a PS Vita. I will at some point though, just to play that Uncharted.
Imagine they're buttons to buy now, I would reckon.
Well, it's super cool because Angie's just finished Uncharted 1, and I'm not gonna lie, just like for Tomb Raider, you gotta put things in perspective, right? So that was the first game of that genre that Naughty Dog, the developers, made, right? Before Uncharted, they came from Jack and Daxter's as well as Crash Bandicoot. So
great games,
but a completely different style, right?
Yeah.
So Uncharted was the first time they were trying themselves onto something a little bit more mature, a little bit more serious. So Uncharted 1, you still have the good ingredients there. You still have those amazing characters that you learn to love. And I'm thinking Elena and Sully. So that's what makes Uncharted, one of the reasons that makes Uncharted so great, because you get attached to that character. And for me, it's Sully. Sully's just like with that cigar and, you know, is like a way of joking. And I don't know, it's just a great character. Nate also, you know, you cannot go wrong with Nathan Drake. Charismatic, always witty. And it's just like, it's basically, I wouldn't even say it's a male version of Lara Croft, because I don't think it is. I see it more like a...
The first game it is.
Do you think? I don't know, I think more like a modern day version of Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
rather than Lara Croft.
I can see that.
You see, I think Uncharted took what Tomb Raider did and improved upon it.
Right.
But I'm curious to see what you'll think. Well, what you think now after this first game, but also what you'll think once you go through the second one, and maybe the third one, and the fourth one is a masterpiece. The fourth one is basically the send off.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, everyone I know who's played Uncharted has said the same thing, that the second and the third games are, you know, stonking. So I'm quite excited to give those a go now. But I felt like I should play them from the beginning. So I paid my dues now. I've done the first one. Ditch the jet ski, and now I can move on.
What did you think of? Okay, well, obviously, can you confirm what I said about the first one? That, you know, it didn't age very well, but do you see the potential there?
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I just felt there was a little bit too much of like, oh, we're in this bit now, let's shoot these guys. Okay, we're in this next bit now, let's shoot some more guys. You know, it was a bit too much shooting and not enough, you know, story. Yeah. But I did like the sort of twisty ending bit. I thought that was very good. Which I won't spoil.
And you see that,
if you can.
That's the thing. That's one. It's not the only one, but it's one of the reasons I love Naughty Dog. They're masters of deceit, in the sense that all their games, they kind of seem they're going away, but nah, it's not the way they're going. You know, there'll be a surprise or a plot twist at some point. Same thing goes for The Last of Us 2, by the way. And The Last of Us, of course. So I love the Uncharted saga, and I don't know, it's just like, I feel like you kind of get, in the span of like 4 games, 4 to 5, if you count Lost Legacy, you kind of get to know those characters almost like they're your friends and family. That's what Tomb Raider doesn't do, right? Yes, Uncharted is about Nathan Drake, but it's not just about Nathan Drake. It's actually about Sully, Elena, and all the others that you're still going to encounter as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like
they've tried to do that, I think, with the new Tomb Raiders, because you've got her friend Jonah who appears in the second one.
Annoying.
I
no matter how hard I try to like Jonah,
Jonah's cute.
I just don't like him, and I just don't like the dynamics, and they're playing the relationship as well.
Well, the other characters were more annoying, I thought. The ones that died and got ditched in the first game. So
I don't know.
But no, I quite like Jonah. I thought he was the best one.
Okay. No.
Poor Jonah. Give him some love. Come on.
No, you know what it is. It's not Jonah. It's not Jonah himself. It's like, as a Tomb Raider fan. So picture this. I'm gonna actually say I got very late into this generation of consoles. I picked up a PS4 last year. Yeah. After a long...
Really? Okay. I thought I was late to the party.
No, because when I moved to London 10 years ago, I was in a flash share. And I really so badly wanted to buy either a PS3 or an Xbox 360, but I needed a TV and I needed to put all of that in my room, so I didn't do it. Stupidly enough, it didn't occur to me at the time that I could just get a monitor. But yeah. So...
Not that that's haunted you at all.
So for a long time I did not have any consoles until last year. I lost it. I was like, you know what? I loved gaming so much, and I just want to get back into it because I saw all that I've been missing, right? The Uncharted, the Last of Us, and all of these games. I'm like, I've missed so much. I want to catch up. So I finally got a PS4, and the first game I bought, as a Tomb Raider fan, is Rise of the Tomb Raider. And I have very high expectations about that game.
You didn't get the first one first.
Yeah, that was probably a mistake.
It's cheaper. You should have got that, dude.
No, but it was like, oh, well, the Rise of the Tomb Raider was a steal at the time because I switched on the PlayStation, I put it in the store, and it was like £3. So I was like...
Okay. Well, it's even more of a steal now because it's free this month.
Both games. I think Shadow is a little better than Rise, but both games really didn't do it for me. And Uncharted scratched. That's what Uncharted did for me. I booted Uncharted, and it just captured that vibe from Tomb Raider and did it even better. And I just got hooked. Then once you start knowing the game and knowing Naughty Dog, you appreciate other things, right? Not only they're brilliant storytellers, but they're also trying to push their graphics for their game, obviously in context, to make it look the most polished, perfect versions for that console at the time, as well as try and kind of like pay painstaking attention to minuscule details that maybe don't even mean anything, but they kind of make you feel like the world that the games are set on is actually lived on, or lived in. I'm thinking Uncharted 4, for example. There's one bit in which you're in Italy, and you're basically in a hotel, no, in a villa. It's like an action villa in Italy, and you're kind of going where the stuff is, so their canteen kind of thing. And if you look there's a whiteboard. If you look in the whiteboard, it says stuff in Italian such as, cleaning rota, and stuff like this, no? To be fair, only if you're Italian you will understand what those things mean.
Yeah, I'm not going to get out the Italian dictionary just to find out what it said on there. So that's a little nice thing just for you.
Nice little thing for you. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, if you think about it, like, oh, yeah, but that's the point I'm trying to make, right? If you think about it, Naughty Dog went into the painstaking detail of doing that for who? For maybe a bunch of 60 million people in the world, basically.
Well, it's nice though, isn't it? Like you say, attention to detail is always
that's what I love.
Appreciated.
Now that I'm playing
I feel like that's becoming more of a trend now as well, isn't it? Which perhaps
they're like Easter eggs, aren't they?
Of Naughty Dog's.
Yeah, no. Other studios are catching up.
Games are going for like that level of detail.
Other studios are catching up, but I have to say, Naughty Dogs are just the absolute best still at capturing these details, or even facial expression. Like, honestly, I gotta say enough. I know I was meant to talk about Uncharted, but The Last of Us 2, in terms of pushing the envelope for facial animation, little details, the way characters move, or little things that they do, like, or Uncharted 4. Let's talk about Uncharted again. You were in a cave, right? The moment you step out of the cave, the sunlight hits and you see Nathan Drake doing this. So they make you feel like the game is lived in a way that, the character responds to this situation in a way real people would respond in the same situation. Yeah, so that's what does it for me. That's why I love the Uncharted series and all of their games so much, exactly because of that. To be completely
well,
honest.
It should be very interesting to see what they do, because I remember last week you said that they haven't really revealed what their plans are.
It's
Naughty Dog.
Early days.
I mean, you said Nathan Drake's kind of wrapped up now, so it's more likely to be something brand new.
Uncharted might actually continue, but it's not in Naughty Dog's ends anymore. Sony's gonna probably give it to someone else. You can force Naughty Dog to make another Uncharted. They made 5 of them, so
yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It's looking like if they do something for the next console, it's going to be something brand new. So
I hope so.
Something to look out for, right?
I really hope so. Because I cannot even imagine what new... We haven't had a new IP from Naughty Dog since the first Last of Us. So I'm hoping with something crazy, like something like sci-fi or something.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah. Could do them a bit of sci-fi. I've not had anything like that for a bit.
Yeah. Which, was rumored at some point that they would make something like that. So we'll see.
Okay.
Well, guys, as usual, thank you very much for being here with me and with us. We'll be back next Tuesday, of course. Until then, happy gaming, y'all.
Happy gaming.
Oh, hang on. One thing I forgot. A little bit of self-promotion.
I'll take that bite back.
Sorry, but a little bit of self-promotion for Angie, because she does have a channel after all, and it's a very good channel.
I was waiting for this.
You can find me at Angie's Venture, where I will talk about clothes and thrifting and various other geekery.
Woo!
So yeah, check me out, man.
Check Angie out, because that's a very, very good channel. All right.
Thank you very much, Lorenz.
Jazz doesn't have a channel, so we can shoot.
Yeah. This happens every week. It's like, oh, here's Angie's really cool thing. And Jazz doesn't do anything.
I don't know what to say about you. You should stream.
Stream.
Yeah, what a loser.
You should stream, dude.
Get yourself out there, man.
Why don't you stream?
Yeah, but he has a really awesome beard, so we'll let him off.
I'm very good at the moment.
Yeah.
I was thinking this earlier, but then I was shaving it a bit like when I first started doing this, but I've now decided I'm just going to let it grow for a while. And I was like, oh, if I go back and watch the videos, I could just track how my beard's been growing each week.
Like a time
Fair
lapse.
point.
Yeah.
You'll be wizardly by the end of the year.
It will not. I will not be letting it do that. It's already kind of long. I just want it a bit thicker, but this length is...
Yeah.
You should grow the mustache that, that kind of like,
What, the curly one?
It already... My moustache bit grows quicker than the other bit, so it's already a lot thicker, and this bit's
wax it
starting
and
to get
just
off
try and
nerves when I
shape it
smile.
like that. I'll post you on WhatsApp. I'll post you the look I'm thinking of for you.
I know what look you're thinking.
No, because
of.
now...
I'm not going
It just occurred into my mind that there's someone that actually kind of looked like you with that look.
Well, there we go. They've done it then. I don't need to.
Well, you can have a sneak peek on what you would look like.
The world can do without me having a really bizarre mustache.
Oh, well.
I don't know. I think I would like to see it anyway.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's gonna be. Now from now on, this is gonna be a thing. We're gonna get people to try and convince Jazz to grow a mustache that way. So yeah, this is a thing we're gonna say in every episode.
Send you free pizza and things just to try and sway you.
Yeah. All right. Well, for real now. Thank you very much, y'all, for being with us. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Bonus beard talk.
Bye. Fun to play.
It's such a Microsoft thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what we really need?
Tetris.
In the middle of all of this, when people are going, oh yeah, this is good. Oh, we need Tetris. And everyone in the boardroom went, yes, that man or woman or whoever deserves a raise.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, team.